Chapter 3.
Inquisitor Malus, Harmonics.
The drone footage played back in slow motion, frame by frame. A girl, gray shawl, dirt-smudged face, opened her mouth. The sound wave registered as a Type 4 Veil Song anomaly. The crowd's torches had burst in synchronization. Drone control cut out at 3.2 seconds. Soldiers near her lost time-memory cohesion for a full minute. Malus leaned forward, eyes cold behind her lens plate.
"Not possible,"
murmured the technician.
"Type 4 hasn't been recorded since the Glass Revolt."
Malus smiled faintly.
Well, looks like history has cleared its throat.
She pressed a button.
Send word to Citadel below. Initiate Retrieval Protocol 6.
A pause.
If the girl sings again, don't silence her.
A raised eyebrow from the adjutant.
Observe her potential, Malus said, and record every note. I want to know what truth feels like when it cracks.
Through the cracks.
She fell without falling. No ground, no sky, only pressure. Nyara tumbled through something thicker than air, thinner than fog. Veil mist. It clung to her skin, slipped through her ears, hummed behind her eyes. The sensation was impossible to name, as if memory and gravity were swapping places. Her voice was gone, or everywhere. And then, impact. Her back slammed into something soft but solid. She rolled, coughed, and tasted moss and metal and light. A dozen sharp sounds followed, rustling fabric, the snick of blades drawn, footsteps on stone. Nyara opened her eyes and found herself surrounded. Half a circle of armed figures loomed above her, faces painted in soot and ash, lit by flickering lanterns carved from melted Dominion helmets. And directly in front of her, Riven. His boot stepped onto her wrist before she could move. His eyes, one storm gray, one a tech glass lens that pulsed blue, locked onto hers with no warmth.
"Name?"
he said flatly. Nyara opened her mouth. Air rasped. Nothing came. He raised a blade.
Try again.
She lifted her chin, lips trembling. Still no sound. From behind Riven, a woman spoke, acid in every syllable.
She can't speak. How convenient.
Selienne. Her braid hung like a whip. Her arms were crossed, but her fingers twitched toward the dagger on her hip.
"She came through the rift,"
Another rebel muttered.
No one survives unmarked.
Someone else added.
Not unless...
Nyara coughed. Her lungs still burned. She raised a hand slowly, unwrapping the gauze at her throat. The moment her fingers brushed the ink brand, the surrounding lanterns flickered. The hush was immediate. Riven's eyes narrowed.
"She's marked." "More than marked,"
said a calm voice behind the ring. From the shadows stepped a tall, wiry figure in patchwork robes and wire-rimmed goggles. Kale. He knelt beside Nyara, held up a scanner that looked like it had been built from 6 different machines. It beeped, then whined.
"Her frequencies harmonized with pre-divergence Veil Song."
Kale muttered, awed.
"This ink brand isn't a brand. It's a living shard."
Selienne spat.
Or it's a trap.
Riven turned away.
"Lise."
A girl barely older than Nyara hurried over, carrying a woven case. Her eyes were ink dark, kind. She crouched beside Nyara, pulled open the case, and began treating her with a fast, practiced hand.
Breathe slow. I'm Lys.
She murmured.
You're not in penance anymore.
Nyara managed a shallow nod.
"She came through the veil."
Kale added.
"Unaided. The last person who did that is..."
Dead.
Selienne snapped.
Like her mother.
That stopped everything. Kyle stood slowly.
You know who she is?
Selienne's jaw set.
The face is familiar from the broadcasts.
Nyara forced herself upright, blinking through haze.
You're rebels.
She rasped. Riven's brow lifted.
That's what they call us.
Then let me stay.
Why?
Selienne demanded.
You could have led them here.
Because I ran away.
Nyara said.
Because I sang and the sky broke.
She gasped. Riven stared at her for a long time. Too long. Then he turned.
She stays. Under watch.
Selienne opened her mouth, but Riven didn't look back.
Train her, or kill her if she sings again. Either way, she's ours now.
Interlude, Ashes Before Flame.
Selienne. Selienne sat at the edge of the cliff that crowned the eastern ridge of Lunaris, watching the moonlight scatter across the broken Dominion scout ship in the valley below. The stars were still, her breath was not. She twirled the hilt of her dagger between two fingers, round, smooth, rhythmic. Just enough movement to keep her from picking at the scar on her palm. The one Riven had dressed himself 3 years ago. He hadn't touched her since. Below, laughter rang out from the forge tents. Kyle and Lys probably welcoming their new stray like a fallen star. The girl with the voice, Nyara. Selienne didn't need Kyle's machines to tell her the truth. The moment that girl opened her eyes, Riven changed. Not with words, not with gesture. But Selienne felt it. His stillness shifted, his defenses thinned, and that girl didn't even know what she was. Typical, she's a danger, Selienne reminded herself. A fracture in the system, a wound wide open. That should have been enough. It should have turned her sharp, loyal. But what curdled her blood wasn't fear. It was something closer to grief. Because Riven hadn't looked at her that way in a very long time. Not since Thorn. Not since the fire mission that cost them both everything and left her climbing out of a pit of glass with nothing but Riven's voice echoing orders through a broken comms link.
Don't you dare die, Sel.
He'd said that once. Now he barely said her name. In the shallow bowl of her palm, Selienne lit a tiny flame rune, no bigger than a spark. It danced across her skin, red gold and desperate. She whispered to it. Not a spell, but something older.
Give me a future that's mine.
The wind shifted. Somewhere in the caves below, the girl with the shard was dreaming. And Selienne, blistering, brilliant, and bleeding, was already planning who she'd have to become to survive her.
Chapter 4. Ash, Sweat, and Something Like Belonging. Nyara woke to the smell of coal dust and something that was either stew or burnt squirrel pretending to be stew. She sat up too fast and nearly cracked heads with Lys, who was crouched beside the cot holding a chipped mug.
Morning!
Lys chirped.
Welcome to the fire-breathing, limb-risking, sanity-questioning cause. Drink this. Don't ask what's in it.
Nyara took it warily. The liquid was green and steaming.
Why is it fizzing?
Lys smiled.
Because Kel made it, and he thinks immunity is for cowards.
Nyara sniffed, winced, and drank. It tasted like someone had murdered a pine tree using vinegar and then bottled the alibi. She coughed.
Congratulations,
Lys said.
You've passed the not dead yet test.
Training grounds. 1 hour later.
Nyara stared at the training circle. It was a dusty ring of cracked stone surrounded by rebel recruits, sharpened sticks, and enough attitude to supply a mid-sized revolution. Selienne stood in the center, smirking.
Let's see what the little banshee can do.
Nyara raised an eyebrow.
Still holding a grudge?
No.
Selienne said sweetly.
I just enjoy watching people fall.
Kyle, leaning against a post, muttered to Lys.
I give her 10 seconds.
Lys.
Before Nyara falls?
Well, Kyle.
Before Selienne tries to stab her for fun.
The duel started simple. Footwork, dodging, pressure tests. Selienne was a blur. Fast, brutal, efficient. Nyara, fast. Untrained, improvising. She ducked under a swing, rolled, kicked Selienne in the shin out of sheer instinct.
Ow!
Selienne snapped.
Did you just peasant kick me?
Sorry.
Nyara panted.
I didn't realize that wasn't part of the sacred rebel dance.
Selienne lunged again. Nyara parried, barely. Then something stirred, deep in her chest, a note, like a low hum beneath her ribs. Not now. Not here. She clamped her jaw shut, but Selienne paused, eyes narrowing.
You're humming. You can't be singing right now.
I have a lot to be nervous about,
Nyara shot back.
including death by murder glare.
Kyle stepped between them.
That's enough for today before someone veil sings the latrine open.
That night, Ember Forge campfire.
Riven sat across the fire from her, carving something metallic with a plasma chisel. He hadn't spoken since dusk, which was fine. Probably. Nyara glanced at him.
So, do you usually assign someone to train the new girl and threaten to kill her?
Standard onboarding.
Swing, he replied without looking up. She laughed once, dry.
What's my next test? Defuse a bomb blindfolded?
Riven's chisel paused.
You're not ready for blindfolds.
Nyara blinked. Riven glanced up. One eyebrow arched. Just enough that Lys nearby whispered.
Was that a joke?
Kale gasped.
Someone write it down, please. The commander almost smirked.
Final scene. Late night veil glitch. Nyara couldn't sleep. Outside, the air shifted. Light mist curling near the veil chamber. Her ink brand pulsed faintly. She stepped out.
A note rose in her throat, unwilled. The mist parted. And somewhere, beneath all of Lunaris, something whispered right back.